Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And this week's segment is album analysis. So, of course, I have my buddies Alex and Jim coming on so that we could talk about another album. And this is definitely a very different one that I had never heard of. And this was one of Alex's recommendations. And Alex, what album were we talking about?
So this is Portugal the Man. I want to say it's their first full-length album. Don't quote me on that. I believe it is back from 2006, and it's called Waiter, You Vultures. Um, and I heard the song AKA M80 The Wolf on 90.5 The Night, and I was like, whoa, what is this? I never heard anything like this in my life. And so when I'm driving around, like I'm sure you guys do, if I hear a song I really like on the radio, I use the AI robot that'll someday take over my brain to
Damn.
yes, Google, whatever Google does, whatever they have, and so I use that to figure out who it is. It's like, oh, Portugal the Man. I had heard of Portugal the Man years ago. Some high school friends were like, oh, you got to check that band out. And I kind of heard stuff, but never really sunk deep into them. And then I was like, let me listen to the rest of that album. And so weeks went by and I kept on playing AKA M80 The Wolf over and over again. And then I kind of checked out like the first half of the record and like got into it. And I just think it's a very cool, dark, sound. It's proggy, it's artsy, it's a little weird, but there's a lot of really cool sonic things going on with it. So I just, especially it driving around at night, usually coming back from my girlfriends or coming back from work, it's like it's a good album to listen to when you're driving around, you know. So that's why I chose it. I just thought it was cool.
Jim, was this your first time listening to this album and also Portugal the Man?
This album, yes, it was my first time. Portugal the Man, no. They got really popular on their fourth and fifth albums. So
Yeah.
I'm sure all of us have heard some songs from Portugal the Man at some point in our lives. Um, but it was kind of oh man, this was like in grad school. I was living in a house with a bunch of undergrads and their girlfriends. And I was listening to what was kind of a hit of Portugal the Man at the time in the kitchen making dinner. One of the girlfriends is like, who are you listening to? I said, Portugal the Man. And she goes, oh, that's a very hot topic. And I was like, ouch. Like, that's like a Letterkenny level burn. It hurt me. So I feel like it's Portugal the Man has gotten a very kind of hipster reputation. Like people get into them and
Yeah.
then they're done. They're done with Portugal the Man. You know what I mean? Um, I like that you picked the first one because when I get into bands that I like, I usually find myself working backwards. Um, Muse would be a good example of this. I hear a little bit of Muse in Portugal the Man, but after we discussed Black Holes and Revelations, I kind of worked my way back in the Muse catalog, and I found myself liking their early stuff the most. It seems more honest and raw or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
But right, so not my first time with the band, but my first time with this album for sure. I listened to it four or maybe five times. Can't give you a specific number. It's very heady. Um, I find the grammar distracting. It's not grammar, it's punctuation. I find the punctuation distracting. That's the nerd in me. Um, what did I write down? Let me see. I have animals, waterways, violence, precious metals, and the 1960s. So
Okay, wow.
I have no idea where this discussion is going. Shane.
So if I have heard a song by Portugal the Man, I don't know that it is because I had no idea who Portugal the Man was. And I guess to give a little context, like I didn't like actively try to listen to like new music until like probably the last couple of years. Um I've only accidentally gotten into some modern music in the past, like the previous 10, 15 years. Like, I mostly grew up listening to classic rock music and like old Motown soul and rock and roll and pop music from like the 60s and 70s. So, like, and I, unlike a lot of people who've certainly really gotten into a lot of alternative, like rock music and stuff like this, which I'm assuming this is what that would be categorized under. Because, like, I feel like you'd probably hear this on like a 104.5 in Philly or something like that. My wife is also a humongous Tame Impala fan. And I'm like, I'm definitely hearing like that kind of parallel feel, especially about this. Some of the songs
Hmm.
sounded very similar to Kevin Parker's early Tame Impala stuff. But
Okay.
this really isn't the kind of music I usually listen to. And I've listened to this a couple of times. There's a couple of the tracks that really stood out to me, and it's interesting because like I enjoyed listening to a lot of like the first six or seven of the songs. And like I enjoyed listening to this. I don't know how much these are gonna stick with me. But then actually a couple of the songs from the back end, and I think I was talking to Jim about this the other day. The song Chicago
Mhm.
really hooked me because like it was completely different, like tonally and energy wise, than the whole first half of the album because it just
Yeah.
comes in like and it comes in like this big banging sound. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, this is different. But then it has like
Yeah.
all those like time changes and it slows down.
Mhm.
And I did appreciate the bad Levi Brown
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
reference. And I'm like, wait a minute.
The Jim Crow, like it's the bad Leroy Brown, like the Jim
Yep.
Croce. Yeah, yeah. That's kind of
I
funny.
didn't really see in the song where the connection was. So
Me neither. I was like reading the lyrics, I was looking for it, but I mean, there must be some kind of subconscious
Maybe
connection
they were just
there.
doing, Panic at the Disco and just randomly giving titles to things.
well, this was the same era. So there was an emo thing happening, right? Like
Oh, which
early
also,
aughts.
Jim,
Yeah.
sounds very hot topic of you.
Oh, ouch. Damn.
You're the one who
Uh,
brought up Letterkenny. Also a great show. As we were watching, we were talking about TV shows. Also on Hulu, Alex. So
F.U. Shorzy.
Letterkenny.
yep,
Um,
Okay.
it is on. Yeah, it is on Hulu.
it
Yeah,
is on
and
Hulu. And the spinoff Shorzy. Um,
yes,
but no, this is it's interesting that somebody pointed out like this sounds very hot topic, which I feel like is just blanketed statement to say anything alternative, unless it's Nightmare
Hmm.
Before Christmas, which is like the most hot topic thing. Because that's basically been Hot Topic's identity for
Yeah.
like 30 years. So I
my favorite
digress.
T-shirt is from Hot Topic. It's a Led Zeppelin T-shirt,
Okay. Hey,
and
they made some
it's
good
gonna rip any
t-shirts.
day now. That's why I haven't been working out because I don't want to rip my favorite T-shirt. But
That's funny. Yeah.
Just walking
Well,
around, it's like, "Ooh,
yeah. So admittedly, I didn't actually try to read any of the lyrics until like a couple hours ago. And I, you know, have a hard time. That's why I like to hear a little more about some of the things you listed, Jim, because was having a hard time connecting things. And that's not a knock. His voice is amazing, and some of the imagery is beautiful. I see some allusions to war, you know. Definitely see that, especially in the last track in Guns, Guns, Guns. I definitely see that, but nothing like like truly concrete or tangible. So be interesting to take a look into that. And honestly, like I said, some of this stuff just sounds very, very cool. It's one of those records where like it would be easy for me to get lost in like which track is which. I don't know if you ever felt like that
I
because a lot of
100%
them,
felt that way specifically about this album.
yeah,
Yes.
which could be a knock, but at the same time, like I like John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers had albums like that, and I used to feel that way about a lot of progressive metal records, where like it felt like songs would kind of like bleed into another, and like you'd have to listen to it 4 or 5 times to kind of decipher one track from another.
Or,
You almost have to have a develop a relationship with the tracks, you know?
or any AC/DC album since like the mid 80s.
Right. I'm sure that's, yeah. Well,
That's
yeah,
a
because
criticism get lodged at me as an AC/DC fan all the
that's a
time.
band that developed a very specific sound, right?
Yes.
Like Metallica developed a very specific sound,
I am pretty sure
like
they play the same
these,
drums on almost every single song in
right.
AC/DC.
Yeah.
But
So,
Maybe they were
yeah.
just ahead of their time, you know. I could think of a few rappers that use the same beat several times, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that happens to me a lot with rap. Not all rap, but a lot of hip hop guys. Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that comes out of blues music, honestly, because look at Bo Diddley, the Bo Diddley beat, basically just did the same beat and just changed the lyrics and had like 8 different songs that had the same "Hey Bo Diddley." Do. So like that's not like that kind of thing's been along for a long time. And that's a you know, I like bands that get that criticism lodged at them a lot. And it's just like they all
Mhm.
sound like the same. I'm like, yeah, they have a sound. Like
Right.
not every
Exactly.
band's gonna go
Eh,
out there and make completely different songs for all 15
right.
songs on their album.
Sure. And this band, just like a lot of bands, like, in their first record, they're still kind of finding their sound. And
Yeah.
they were obviously very talented and they had kind of refined it enough to do something like this, which is just different and very cool. You know, so yeah, no, it's not necessarily a knock. It's more of an observation on these types of records, maybe for bands at this state in their, because I've heard a couple of the popular hits on the radio that they've had since then. It sounds very different, you know,
Interesting.
very different stuff. So,
I'm interested to check out some of their like at least some of their more recent songs to see how their sound changed and evolved. But like
mm,
it's I feel like I mentioned before, the song Chicago really stood out to me because that was like the first
mm,
song on the album that felt truly different,
very different.
like very
Yeah.
different. And I did like it. I think what stood out to me about this album are the little details. Like there's some broad strokes to the songs that I feel like are pretty common, but what I think is impressive about their music is that they find little trappings and little
Mm,
different things they're doing vocally or like little interludes and stuff like that they throw into their music that gives it a little bit of extra personality.
mm,
And I think if you're paying it close enough attention, I think you can find little things that stick out in each of these songs. And I will 100% admit, when I first started listening to this album, I thought this was a female vocalist. Um, I don't know if either of you had that experience.
Well, there
Um,
is a girl in the band, is there not? Or a female
yeah.
identifying member of the band? But is that the singer or no?
That's a good question. I didn't think so. If it is, holy moly, because
I didn't think so either, but I don't
that
know.
that makes her even more unique. I don't believe so. I read their Wikipedia page, which makes me an expert, and
Of course.
Hell yeah,
that
it
yeah.
does.
um, yeah, from Alaska, but they're based in
Honestly, no, I saw that too,
Portland.
Alaska. Honestly,
John
Wikipedia is
Yeah,
Gorley.
not a bad place. Wikipedia is
no,
not a
it's true.
bad place to start. It's not.
Yeah.
John Gorley,
Um,
lead singer.
and Okay, Gorley's the lead singer.
Yes.
I
So
see.
can confirmed, Mr. John Gorley, but you can't
Oh
see it
wow.
because glare. Um,
I got you. And Zoe, I don't know what Zoe does in the band. Well, we can look up what she does. But that I'm really curious about that. So I think it's Zoe and John. Side note, they have a thing on their website about their daughter, um, which
oh,
I can get into
she
a
does
little bit later.
do vocals and percussions, but she
Oh,
didn't join the band until 2008.
yeah. Oh,
So she
really?
wasn't on this
Oh,
album.
she's not on that record. Okay, that solves that mystery. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Interesting. Didn't mean to open up a can of worms there, but I just thought,
No, no.
I'm like, it was one of those things. I'm like, is this a female vocalist?
Well,
Is this a male vocalist? I
so
don't
so
know.
when I was listening to it, have you guys ever listened to the Mars Volta at all?
Yes, yes, I have, and I was
Yeah.
just thinking that.
I thought it was the same singer from the Mars
Hmm,
Volta because they sound so similar.
interesting.
Yeah. So which is another band I used to listen to a little more often when I was in end of high school, early college, very similar sound, very cool sound, more proggy. I think a little more proggy than this. Um, so yeah. But one thing I like about Chicago, and the same thing I like about a lot of other songs, that I love how sometimes they just kind of fall apart into what could have been another song. You know
Well,
that?
well, that's the thing.
Like,
Like on that track, it's like just and then it's like, and then it drops to like pretty quiet, and then they're like
drops.
singing and like this, and it's just like, wait a minute. It just like
Yeah.
it stripped everything away and goes
Mhm.
in this completely other like time
Right.
change and feel to the song.
Gold
Uh
Fronts does that. This the second track does that. I think the last track, Guns, 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 does it for a little bit.
yeah, because that's
Um,
also like almost a 9 minute song and just starts
right.
like spinning into all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff towards the end.
The bridge. And I was always, yeah, having grown up with metal when I was a kid, the bridge was always my favorite
Mhm.
part of a lot of songs. It was like when they got the most musical. And so I love a good bridge. You know.
Well, and
Me, on
So
the other hand, I'm annoyed when artists throw in a bridge that takes the song down a few notches.
okay.
is
And I'm
that a
like, oh,
bridge too
you
far
didn't
for you,
need a
Jim?
bridge. Just yeah, exactly. Like people sometimes they'll be writing a song and they have what could be a song, but they're
Mhm.
like, oh, it's not a song because we don't have a bridge, and they force a
Yeah.
bridge. And then to me, it ruins the song because it's not as good as the rest of the song. You know what I mean? But I can definitely hear what you're saying.
Please, I'm so curious because as a songwriter, please, when you find like the best example, if you have it, tell me right now, but please send to me because I want to hear what you mean because I feel like I've heard that, but never like pinpointed it and gone like, oh, they didn't need that part.
I can I can see myself in the car listening to a song and I was like, oh damn it. Like and I can't
Yeah,
think of what the song is. So I next time it happens, I
yeah.
will send it to you.
Because it's funny, it's very funny because I've written songs where like and I've almost never played them live and I go, damn, I have bridges that I've written that are better than the rest of the song. And it kind of sucks because I almost never play the song because I'm not as confident in the song as a whole. And so I'm always thinking like maybe I'll find another place for that, bro. Maybe I'll find another. So I'm waiting. That bridge is like just waiting for the better song to come, you know. So it's kind
Well,
of funny.
it can be so dynamic. You don't want to waste a good bridge either.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
exactly.
trying.
So it's
I searched bridges that ruin a song, and there is a post on Reddit.
really
Some of
Wow.
the examples here: Womanizer by Britney Spears, I guess.
Oh,
Um, let's see, Anaconda by Nicki Minaj.
I've heard it, but I can't call to mind the bridge at the moment.
All I know from
The
that song
bridge
is what they
sucked.
that's sampled from another song. My anaconda don't. My anaconda.
See,
Uh, Shake
I'm
It
just
Off
not a
by
good.
Taylor Swift. The
All
Overpass
these.
by Panic at the Disco.
Okay.
Ooh,
All right.
okay. Bringing it back to the emo
All right.
bands. Although Panic at the Disco is still making music, are they not? Is
They
Portugal the
are.
Man? Are they? I haven't heard
I
of
think they're
Portugal the
go.
Man in a minute.
I think they're going on tour. If their website's updated, I think they're still playing live. I don't know if they've. I'm not sure. I know they won a Grammy back in like 2017, but that's almost 10
Cool.
years ago.
All
You
right.
know. So yeah, they're still doing their thing. Yeah, I think they're going starting in November. They're going on a pretty extensive, well, November to December. They're doing a decent sized tour there. So
Okay.
that's
Nice.
actually a lot of performances in a short amount of time.
Sure. I
Um,
wonder if they'll go to Chicago. Can I jump in on that track? Can I just bring us
sure, sure,
back to
sure.
the track list there?
Yeah.
Have you guys heard Chicago by one of the members of Crosby, Stills, and Nash? It's either Crosby or Stills or Nash. Or a song called
I think so.
Chicago about the protests there and the violence there between the police and the protesters
Hmm.
and the politics and the Vietnam War, which like I was already in that mind frame after that song for the last one, two, yeah, last third of the album. Tommy's definitely about Vietnam. House Party mentioned 65, and I assume that's political. Sorry. I assume Housewarming Party is about some party in the House of Representatives.
Oh wow.
Um, and then obviously Guns, Guns, Guns is about the military industrial complex, which to me, I was still stuck in
Mm,
Vietnam, but like there's so much more going on. Alex, you mentioned war. I mean, you have
yeah.
shit, I'll just go back to the top. So How a Leopard Got Its Spots is a story by Rudyard Kipling, who was born in British occupied India, I think.
Wow.
Um, and then M80 is a shell, I think,
Mhm.
I
Right.
believe. Elephants could be war elephants, but then there's
Yeah.
I have a comprehensive list here: leopards, birds, dogs, lions, wolves, flies,
Wow.
caterpillars, elephants, pigs, horses, bears, and snakes slash
Oh
serpents.
my.
So
Yeah.
I the I lost myself again. You know what I mean? Like there's
Wow.
definitely a through line of war and colonialism or exploitation, but I can't follow it. Like there's can't do it. But I appreciate that there's a lot to think about in the lyrics.
Yeah.
I feel like we discuss this often. I'm a music first person always. So I
Mhm.
also didn't look at the lyrics until today. But that's what stood out to me on my last
Yeah. But
listen to the song.
I'm really glad you mentioned it though, because, the lyrics can make a record better. If it sounds great, you're always going to like it, which is the first tough thing to achieve. But if the lyrics hit home in a way, it'll make it better. And so I'm glad you did a bit of an analysis to kind of see a through line between animals and what sounds like war. I totally miss the 60s. Actually missed the specific to the I missed that.
Yeah, because
But it's
there's
Um,
only in the
a
last like three songs, the 60s thing going on.
Kind of come in.
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a verse in Horse Warming Party. It says born and raised in 65, born and raised in the streets, born and raised, televised, born and raised. As people stood up and a cheer went through the air. The devil had died, devil had died, the devil had died.
That's a
Who,
very good excerpt of lyrics from this record. I feel like it gives a very good example of like how they can be very meaningful, but also could mean absolutely nothing at the same time. It's
right.
very opaque, you know?
Sure, sure. 'Cause it makes me want when they said the devil, I was like, who is the devil? You know,
Right.
what is the devil supposed to symbolize there? It's there, it's like it's not they're not gonna tell you. You almost have to kind of listen to it and figure it out somehow.
Yeah, they definitely don't want to be over specific. They want it to
mm,
be what you think it is, but obviously it came from somewhere. So
yeah.
that's why I'm where I'm at.
It feels like there's a
Mhm.
lot of thought put into it. That song AKM 80 the Wolf, that's like one of my favorite recordings ever, like that I've ever heard in my life. That's what made me want to listen to the
Mhm.
record. And the lyrics are so the way he sings is so weird and like they're almost slightly deranged. I think that's what I like about it. It's just so different and I have no idea what it means. I really, but I just love the color in it. There's so much. It's like an abstract painting to me,
Mhm.
you know. And so I was like, oh man, there's something beautiful, but there's also something wrong here. It's like
That was also my favorite song on the record. I was kind of excited to hear you'd built up one track on this album as being like special to you, and I was curious to hear what it was, but that's not surprising because that one stood out to me too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Along with Chicago and the first song on the album. But yeah, The Wolf, well, something about those three songs, they're all um more rock than
Hmm.
a lot of the record is. There's like
Yeah.
a riff to kind of sink your teeth into, or kind of
Mhm.
lasso and ride, or however you want to describe it. I
Sure.
think that's why I like those three songs because it's kind of more traditional rock.
Mhm.
In the way that like the Mars Volta, there's really only one song that I ever really listened to by them anymore. I want to say it's called The Widow, but it's like one of their more
Mhm.
traditional songs. It's a little easier, less
Yeah.
abstract, less proggy, like you said. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't know, I wonder if on repeated listens, if other things would come out to me. But like right now, after a handful of listens, those are the three songs that stood out to me.
Actually
Yeah.
just pulled
Wait.
up the lyrics to Chicago. There's some interesting stuff in here. Because like the first verse is the pig spitting taxes and unwanted tasks. And then
Mm.
the bridge of the song is we say, send me to the battle, please, sir. Send me to the battle, please, sir. And then Chicago is the second verse is Chicago's dancing in xylophone laughter. And then the pre-chorus is they say burn this, burn this, burn this effer down, 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 burn this mother effer down. And that's where like the song comes down and it's like that more like spoken word kind of thing. And it's like
Yeah.
that down, down, down. And they're taking like that different kind of approach to like the tempo of the song and everything. And this even references horses, this song too. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk about horses all over this album for sure.
Mhm.
And more horses, well, if it's
Yeah.
Or
all like
or
going in that
riot
direction.
or riot police.
Mhm.
Mm.
There's a lot of layers to peel back here.
No doubt. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it definitely requires multiple listens to really get into the thick of what's fully being expressed here. Um, but I also, yes, there's the rock stuff I really enjoy. The Waiter is a song I enjoyed because also different, it's kind of like a waltz. It's actually kind of more low key, but again, there's something very dark about it. Um, So I like that one. I actually kind of enjoyed that. That one was kind of a breath of fresh air, you know, a little bit different. But also similar to what we talked about, although they use it very differently with Muse, like
Mm.
the techno elements. There's like there's slight techno elements that they put in to the songs, which make it just very like God, like really, really cool. Like it could have been stuff that they did in post-production too. It might have been like stuff they did on the computer after the band was already done with the guitars and the drums and everything. And I'm like, wow, like it just raises the game. There's also a lot of like there's a lot of left ear, right ear stuff going on, like there's stuff going on in one ear and then stuff going on in the other ear. And I noticed that just being in the car. I was like, there's like stuff happening on different sides, which the way they mixed it was just very clever.
Hmm.
Um, you know, so it's very cool. Very cool stuff. I can't speak to the lyrics anymore. Just I just,
Well, and
Since
but
I've gotten a new phone, I it's like a newer iPhone that uses the USB-C and
mhm,
not the uh well, I guess the aux cord is a thing of the past with the iPhone community. I don't know. And now
yeah,
I can't use my lightning cord earphones either. So like all I have is my JBL, my trusty. I'll give them
nice.
a little free shout out. This thing's been awesome. But I don't think
We would love to bring you album analysis brought to you by JBL. Shameless plugs all around.
I don't get a good sense of like stereo sound on this thing because it's just too small, you know?
yeah, I got you. Yeah. That's probably interesting. JBL's good. They're good. Actually, these are JBLs. These headphones are JBLs.
How about
Hey.
that? Shane, get on that.
Sponsored by JBL,
JBL. I love
delivering
it.
clotheslines from hell for the past 35 years. So different JBL. But just like last thing I want to say about the lyrics is I've been going through I have Genius up and I'm looking at the lyrics and stuff like that. They have a very interesting approach to their lyrics because like they're not the kind of lyrics where I'm reading and I'm like, wow, that packs a punch. I'm reading the lyrics, I'm like, I have to process this because
Yeah. Yeah.
none of the messaging is entirely clear. I feel like the lyrics make you have to work for this
Right.
and really think about and try to process it. And
They're
like,
implicit as opposed to explicit. Yeah.
yeah, there's not a whole lot of explicit direct meaning hopping out of a lot of the lyrics. And like Alex, I brought up AKA M80 the Wolf in terms of like the lyrics here. And it's like through crooked teeth and mouth up ties, they spit you up river just like all those lions that walk the banks. They said,
Mhm.
paint me that river, and would you only use blues? Brilliant big black mouth lengths of pines and the river through and through and through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would legitimately love to know if the person writing the lyrics was like intoxicated or under the influence in some way or
Mhm.
not, because if not, that's actually much more intriguing to me um,
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
the alternative, I think.
Well,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
I think
They
one of the interesting,
definitely have a gift for the gift for poetry, certainly.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
to be able to use the poetry as imagery and as color, you know. That's its own form of lyric writing, right?
well, and that was the thing that really stood out to me is it sounds very poetic in a very specific kind of way. And it's always interesting when you listen to art or watch art or look at art and you're just like, I would never been able to express myself that way. And that's the kind of vibe that I got like looking at this. I'm like, if I was trying to write
Yeah.
lyrics to the song, I would never come up with this kind of stuff. And it's interesting to get like that kind of different
Yeah.
feel, because it's to hone in on one thing that you said, Alex, is like this feels a little bit like art house avant-garde, like it has a very
Right.
specific kind of feel to it.
Mhm.
And I think this was a very interesting era of music in the aughts, because like what was most of the popular music in the aughts? Not rock music.
Yeah.
And
Right.
but like this was really that time where a lot of like alternatives started to really like started like not to bring up Tim Impala again, but like
Mm.
their
Right.
real
Right.
early albums sound like John Lennon music.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is not what it sounds like now.
Right.
And
Right.
not gonna lie, I kind of like the earlier stuff better. But like
Sure.
I gravitate more towards like the rock music kind of feel to it.
It seems like lots of bands, artists seem to gravitate towards stuff that's going to be more dancey, you know? Because like, yeah, I mean, those lyrics that you just read, like the beauty and the terror that's wrapped up in that, that's hard to sell to a bunch of 13-year-olds at the dance, you know.
But a brooding 13-year-old alone at home with good headphones might get really into that shit, you know?
Yes.
Nobody
100.
asked me to the dance, sitting at home listening to my Portugal to the Man record.
They walk the banks, right? Oh yeah.
The
That's
lines that walk the banks. And just like this is like art. And
yes,
like all their
yes.
friends are at a dance. Like I was in middle school at this point, because like, oh no, I was in high school at this point. Yeah, because this is '06. Yeah, I was
Right.
15. But like we were listening to like not this.
Yeah.
Trying to
So
think of
so
like
I'll try to make a slight, very generalist comment about bands' journeys through the music business. And man, even you could even say with the Chili Peppers, like, well, let's go back to the Bee Gees. You listen to those. My under this first beat that first Bee Gees record, right? Is that they
yeah,
were a folk band,
yeah.
but the Bee Gees are not. They are known as like the disco kings, right?
Staying alive, staying alive.
Yes.
Yep.
So they like, and so I mean, Kurt Cobain is probably rolling over in his grave. But like we even got to the point where they had a dance version of Smells Like Teen Spirit, like that sort of became the path for a lot of bands to be able to thrive from a business standpoint.
Mm.
No, I'm not saying every band did it.
Hey, even Kiss did
But
disco.
yeah, oh yeah, I mean Kiss, right? Whatever the hell they did in the 80s,
I
right?
was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me.
Yeah. Which is
Yep.
funny because they were supposed to be like the counter to disco at first when they
And
came
they
out.
sold out
But
because
That's
they
still
yeah.
would
catchy
do
though.
anything to make money. Like his caskets, his condoms.
Gene
Gene
Simmons
Simmons, like,
and
we'll do
he likes
disco.
his money. He likes his
That's
money a
different.
lot.
It's different now though. Like one of my favorite artists is Gregory Alan Isaacoff. He's a folkie. I don't know if you guys even are aware of
Yeah.
who he is, but he got his break with a McDonald's commercial. And
Okay.
in this climate that we're in, most people, I think, give him a pass for that. Because you
Yeah.
just have to make money at some point. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think
Yeah.
the musical landscape that we're in 2025 is a very different kind of animal than like
Mhm.
you can find your niche, because most people that are millennials or younger, don't sit and listen to the radio. Like, it isn't the whatever 6 songs that they play on repeat all day are the ones
Yeah.
that people hear on the radio. Like most people have their YouTube, their Spotify, their Apple Music, or Amazon Music, and are
Mhm.
just exploring. And with all these algorithms and stuff like that, which I have a bone to pick with my Spotify DJ, who just wants to play the same goddamn songs over and over again, just like listening to the radio. But it's that kind of thing where it's just like you can randomly find, like,
Yeah.
hey, I have this very specific taste, and there's like endless music there on Spotify for you to explore.
Yeah.
Unless you're the kind of person that does want to listen to the same songs over and over and over again. I keep finding myself back into that. But like, not gonna lie, I just have a bunch of Boney M songs stuck in my head at the moment. So
Yeah.
I will
I'll
listen to
be
that.
I'll be the first to admit I do get like stuck on like a certain amount of songs, and it does take a while for me to like really fall in love with an artist. Um, and I'm about to talk about Jesse Wells in a second, so I know you. Yeah, we're going to talk. Well, by the way, should have picked one of his records, but I'm glad we did this record. It's a good record, very good record. But
Remember for your next pick.
yeah, yes. Spotify can be pretty good for helping you discover some stuff. That's true. But it's going to play. So if you're listening to a lot of Portugal the Man, it's going to play. Yeah, it played. Of course, it played Mars Volta, and it played other stuff like weird stuff like that. So it
Coheed.
actually it's not bad.
Coheed and Cambria.
Oh yeah. Oh, some Coheed.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw them at the Garden with Leia sometime within it was for around her birthday. They opened for
Oh,
Incubus. It was awesome. It's freaking awesome. Oh my
Smell
God.
like weed.
Amazing. A little bit. A little bit.
With the
Yeah.
Incubus.
this
But
dog sitting next to me also smells like weed because she got sprayed by a skunk yesterday. She's sleeping right now. All
she
right.
smells like
Skunk ass
some
weed.
dank weed.
Some
dank
teen
weed.
spirit. Go on.
Yeah. Well, no, but I was just gonna say I still listen to the radio. I listen to the same friggin' station over here, 90.5 the night. And sometimes they play just safe stuff. And every once in a while, they play some cool stuff like Brandy Carlisle. Like I discovered her through 90.5. Same way I discovered these guys. I discovered Blitz and Trapper through them. They're a pretty cool band.
Nice.
You know, yeah, I've discovered a lot of really cool artists, from them. And some of them I like sink my teeth into, and some of them I just have like a fly by night sort of relationship with. But yeah, you're right, Shane. There's still many ways, but radio's still there. I like radio because when someone gets on there and does curate some stuff that
Mm.
like, oh, you would have never even thought about. I prefer that over the algorithm. But radio can get a little, as you mentioned, can get a little stuck in its old ways, even more so than the Spotify algorithm when you're hearing the same,
I don't need to hear Stairway to Heaven for the
yeah.
4th time this week.
I don't know if I ever want to listen to Guns N' Roses or Bon Jovi ever again.
I'm right
But
there with you on
Alex, you're
Bon
from New
Jovi.
Jersey.
Exactly. So am I. We all
one of
are
my
we not all from New Jersey?
one of my students wanted to learn this stupid song called "Blaze of Glory" by Bon Jovi. Is the dumbest lyrics
Days of
you've ever heard.
glory.
Like the lyric, it's so stupid. Oh my God,
That was made for a Western. Young Guns, wasn't it?
that's why they have the dumb lyric in there. I didn't draw first, but I drew first blood. I'm no one's son, but I'm a young gun or something. I was like, these are the worst lyrics I've ever
It was
read in
written
my
for Young
entire life.
Guns. It was the 80s.
Worse than Love After Love?
That's another Bon Jovi song?
That's
Oh,
a Cher
oh,
song.
The
oh,
Cher
Cher
song.
song.
Did I
That's
just
my
trigger you? Oh shit, now
yes.
we're on another.
I hate that. My ex-girlfriend loves that song. Loves that song. I was like, I hate that song. To be fair, it could be the way she sings it makes it really what's
Well,
up.
it's like
Anyway.
obnoxiously auto-tuned too. It's like, this is Cher. Why are you auto-tuning this?
Yeah. That could be another good video, like just songs we love to hate. That could be another round. Songs that we love that
Well, I don't like to purposefully churn out hate here on the Wasteland Reviewer YouTube channel, which is why I do not
just
do worst.
accidentally, just by mistake.
I don't go out of my way. I've had people ask me, "Where's your worst of movies list of the year?" I'm like, I don't do that shit.
Ah,
Like,
Yeah.
no
if I didn't like
Razzies.
a movie, I'm going to talk about it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to make a
Okay.
video specifically to spread negativity. But we could talk about that on our own time.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but does anybody have anything else they want to add about Portugal the Man, Waiter, you Vultures?
I'll go first since Alex picked the record, and I'll let Alex close it out. Bookends. Um, I just was reading a book today, a little book somebody gave me as a gift. It's the Dictionary of Fine Distinctions, and one of them was parable versus fable. Do you guys know the difference between a parable and a fable?
I wouldn't be able to tell you the definition off the top of my head.
That's
So
okay, because I'm ready to tell you. A
there you go.
fable uses animals. That's really the only difference. A parable teaches a
Really?
lesson, a moral lesson, and a fable teaches you a moral lesson, but it uses animals as the characters. So obviously, as I was writing down all these animals from the record, I was like, oh, this has got to be some kind of a fable or a list of fables, like mini parables all put together.
Yeah.
And as usual, I'm probably over analyzing, but word of the
No.
day, a fabulist is someone who tells or writes fables, such as Aesop. So there you go, Alex.
Wow. A fabulous used as a noun? As
Yep.
a That is really cool. What was the name of the book again?
A dictionary of fine distinctions.
Dictionary of Fine Distinctions. That's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I did not
it's a fun little book.
I
Oh,
didn't
and
know that.
Shane, sorry, Shane, who built the love? That's what I'll leave you with. Since we're all about love and not hate on this channel, I'm going to quote elephants here. Who built the love? And I want to know your answer. But Alex, go ahead. I'm going to let Shane think about it for a second.
All I was gonna say was, yeah, listen to this record if you want to hear something really cool and very unique and just very fun to listen to. Listen to it when you're walking around or driving at night. And then one last thing, listen to Jesse Wells. My
Oh, yes.
opinion, the most important artist of this century, period.
Wow.
We built the love here on the Wasteland Reviewer YouTube channel. So there's my answer. Now, I
Nice.
did enjoy listening to this album. Like we talked about earlier, I think a lot of these songs like sound pretty similar to them, but some of them really did stick out to me. But I think overall it's an interesting album to listen to, and it makes me want to check out their other music as well, which it seems like there's plenty. So I'll
Cool.
dabble into some of their other albums. But this is the end of another segment of album analysis here on Wasteland Talks. But Alex and Jim, thank you both so much, as always, for coming on and chatting some music.
You
Of
are
course, my
welcome,
man.
Shane.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.